Hello, everybody. This is Stephanie and Chelsea, and I welcome you to the Celebrating Success podcast. And I'm so excited because today we're talking about manifesting.
I'm excited about this topic, and we have posted about this on our YouTube channel already, but I'm very new to the manifesting world. So, Steph, you are really, really good at explaining what manifesting is and the whole process and the meaning behind it. So, can you explain to our audience, in case someone's listening who doesn't understand or know what manifesting really is, can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so in basic terms, manifesting is essentially a way for you achieving your goals and dreams. It's just a process for you to get there. And I've been doing it I feel like my entire life because I feel like I was maybe probably from my mom that I probably learned from. But I've been doing it my entire life. I just didn't realize it until I was like in my 20s and I realized there was a term for what I was doing. And essentially what it is it's you believing it but in a way where you don't doubt it at all, because ultimately, like, when you start believing what you want, so you have a goal, you have a dream, and you know that you are going to get there, no doubt whatsoever. And when you start essentially manifesting it, and manifesting it is essentially what it is it's increasing your vibration, increasing your frequency to be at the same level as your goal and dream. So when you start manifesting and you start getting closer and closer, it really starts forming all the action. All of a sudden, like, you'll start taking action even faster because you're trying to manifest. It's like the universe around you provides you with all the opportunities that you need to manifest your dreams. And you all of a sudden will start taking action on what you want naturally. It's almost like a natural process. You start taking action, you start letting go of the things that hold you back. You start really everything that you need to get to your goals and dreams happens. And it's an incredible process that I feel like can complete. Once you master it, you for sure can change your life.
So, what are the steps to so if someone's coming to you and say, I want to manifest $1 million, what tips would you give them for them to start practicing so they can achieve that goal, so they can manifest it?
For one, be very, very, very clear on what you want. So what exactly do you want? And be as specific as possible, because I'll give you an example. When I was trying to manifest something, this was I feel like a few years ago, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. I was trying to manifest like a corporate job. Like, I was trying to manifest like my dream job. And I'm like, I had like even the logo of what I wanted. I knew the logo. I knew the exact job description, exactly what I would be doing. I had it. For me, I'm a visual person, so I printed it out, a job exactly like it. I think, and I remember part of it was like, doing snow tubing trips. I remember that being part of it. I had this whole job description. And the thing that I left out was that the salary, because for me at the time, like, the salary doesn't matter to me. I don't need to get paid high. And I almost expected it. That's the difference. I expected it to come with, like, a fair wage salary. I just expected that, which means I got everything that I manifested. I manifested, even the logo looked exactly like the logo that I was manifesting. The job description, it matched it to a T. But the thing I wasn't clear on is, how much do I want to get paid? What exactly do I need? Because I just assumed. That's the hardest part. When I say get clear, you need to be very clear on what you want, because that is what you're manifesting. You can't just expect certain things, because you'll get everything you're manifesting. You need to be very clear. So that is step one, being incredibly clear on what you want. And then the next step is increasing your vibrations, increasing your frequency to match your goal. So the bigger the goal, the bigger the dream, the higher the frequency. And you need to match your frequency to that goal. And when you do that, then that's when you will achieve your goal, because everything runs on vibration. So in order to increase your frequency and your vibration, you need to do that through being grateful, through having like you can have like a gratitude journal, through affirmations. Every time you do that, every time you have those affirmations saying, I'm phenomenal, I deserve this, like my goal, and writing out your goals, being very clear with what you want. The combination of those things, your gratitude list, affirmations, and your goals, the three things, those are an incredibly powerful way that you can increase your vibration, increase your frequency to help you match. And it's more, and the third step I would suggest is believing it and letting go of the how. So you don't always know how it's going to happen. And I feel like just like everything, and I'll give you an example, like COVID, no one ever could have predicted when it would have happened, right? That's why you have to let go and trust in the universe that it will happen when it's meant to happen. And when you let go of the how and planning all those stages, because ultimately, if you're planning how, you're kind of limiting yourself, because the universe can have an even bigger plan for you. So when you're putting those limitations on how, you're essentially limiting yourself, because the universe can give you an opportunity better and bigger and faster than what you're even imagining. So that is why it's important as part of like the letting go of how. And when you do that, you have to have no doubt whatsoever. And that is probably one of the hardest things to do. It's that, like, I'm saying this like it sounds really easy, and it's really not, because letting go of the doubt, meaning you don't have that voice in your head saying, well, that's not possible. That is probably the hardest thing, because there's always, I feel like it's hard because for a lot of people, it kicks in. You have that little voice in your head that says, I don't know if I can do this. And every time you have that doubt, it just means that what you're manifesting can be delayed, which is why people, like, they often get discouraged. But the thing is, in order to manifest what you want, you have to go into it full force, clear, and letting go of the how and really the doubt behind it. And once you do it once, you get that feeling of how to do it. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
So I have two questions that came from that.
Yeah.
One, do you think that that little voice in your head is kind of your intuition telling you like this might not be the dream that you're thinking of? Do you think that might be that little voice, or do you think it's just the insecurity of, or just a general self-doubt not believing it?
It depends. It depends, like, what kind of personality you have,
Mm,
because ultimately, like, if you already, like me, I'm the natural dreamer. I naturally, like, I naturally have like that ability. So if I'm doubting anything, that I naturally believe anything is possible. That's in my, I feel like it's engraved in
it
my, like,
definitely is.
yeah, like it's engraved in my blood. Like, so if, for me personally, if I'm doubting something, it means I need to shift something. It doesn't necessarily mean that it can't happen, because I do fully believe that what I'm manifesting can happen. It just means what I'm doing right now something needs to change, whether it be the action step, it's not always like that is not going to happen. It's just that voice inside your head is there telling you you need to change something in order to get to that goal or dream. But those people that have those insecurities, that still need to, like, that don't fully believe that it's possible, like those kind of, like, more like of that, then it could just be their insecurities, that is part of the way, like, their thinking is, and they need to focus on more letting that go and letting more of it happen naturally. So I think for that, it depends on the personality. If you're like me and are naturally believe anything is possible, it's engraved in your blood, then chances are that little voice in your head is your intuition telling you to change something. It doesn't mean that, what your goal or dream can happen. It just means that you need to change something for that goal or dream to happen.
And sometimes I find like those that have those self-doubt conversations, it's more like if you're already a negative person or already have
Yeah,
negative thoughts that like
exactly.
deep down you don't actually believe it. So I feel like if you do
Exactly.
internally believe that it is a thing and you have those doubts and you're still over like thinking over it, being like, no, I can still do it. Maybe that's a sign of intuition. But if you're listening to it and you're like, yeah, maybe I can't, and then you start
Mhm.
going into this downward spiral, then that's probably just the fact that you didn't believe it in the first place.
Exactly.
Now, another thing you said that I was very curious about was
Yeah.
that you said you were manifesting a job and you knew the logo and everything.
Mhm.
Did you see the job that you wanted and that's how you found the logo? Or like how did you figure out the logo of that dream job?
That's a
And the
good
description,
question.
like how do you get all that information?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I remember I was applying to a job at like it was just like a college like around where I was living, and it was like my dream job. This was like I'm like this is exactly what I want. I applied for it and I didn't get it. And I was like, no, this is what I want. I printed, there was the job ad. Like I was searching. I'm like, I don't care if I'm hired by this company. I don't care what company I'm hired by, but I knew I'm like this is I'm like I knew two things. I knew I wanted to work at a school, and I knew that it was like with students, and I knew that it was in event planning, and I could see that's I knew it, and I'm like I know for sure. And for me, I'm a visual person. I printed out that exact logo that I saw that I lost, like I didn't get that job, and I printed out the logo. I printed out that exact job description, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is exactly what I'm going to be doing. And then I focused on it. I'm like, nope, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm getting a job like this. Even in my interview, and I did, I ended up getting this job that I read the exact description. And I'm like, people told me I couldn't get it. They told me I couldn't. I had my entire family telling me, like, not my entire family, but I had a lot of people doubting me, like, you can't get that. I was even in my interview with this job that I did get, I was competing against someone who already worked there. And I had no doubt. I'm like, I know I'm going to get it. I know I'm competing against someone who already works there, but I know I can do it. I know that I'm meant to get a job like this. And even if I didn't get that specific job, I knew I was meant to work for something. And I had the job description. I knew I was reading what I would be doing. And I did. I ended up manifesting a job, the exact description of what I printed out, this job description of what I printed out. So that I feel like is because sometimes it's clear. You can say, oh yeah, I want a job in event planning. Okay, well, that's kind of vague. What exactly do you want to be doing in your job? What do you want to be doing in your business? And if you're not sure, then look at someone else. Like, Google can be your best friend in terms of look at jobs, even if they're not around your area. Just know like that it's possible to get it. Look up look up different business ideas that other people do and really focus like, no, this is what I want to do. And you have to know it full force. Like this is it. And from then I feel like everything else will just fall into place.
So if someone is manifesting a house,
Mhm.
they don't need to know what the exact house is, but if they find inspiration of things that they connected with while looking on a website. So if they saw a house that they really liked, it might not necessarily need to be that house, but it's like this is what I liked about that, so I'm going to manifest that,
Yeah.
right?
So in terms of a house, if you see a house, you're like, this is the house that you see the pictures on like Pinterest or wherever, like you're like, this is the house I'm meant to be in. And you even like in the same thing, the address, yeah, the address might be different, but chances are you're going to manifest something that the kitchen is going to look probably the same, very similar. The colors, very similar. Like even the, like, just like with this job that I had, the logo was even this, like, it blows my mind how similar these logos were. The same thing with the house. In terms of the address, yeah, the address might change. Yeah, because it may not be like a specific like address of a house that you're going to manifest, but chances are, because if you don't get like that because I didn't get that original first job, but I got the same thing. I got everything that I wanted and more. And to be honest, it worked out better because the way I feel like the universe has a way of like a reason why they're doing something. And I remember being disappointed that I didn't get this job. I'm like, I really wanted this job. But the thing is, when down the line, it made more sense because they were about an hour away. These two jobs, they're about an hour away. And long term, it actually made more sense for me to get the job that I did. It was working with, and it brought me to you too.
Yeah, I was actually thinking
Like,
that too.
so like I feel like that was the reason like why it brought me to like we would be in a completely different spot if I would have had that original job, right? Because we met at the corporate job. So I feel like if you don't get, in terms of a house, if you don't get that specific like address, it's for a reason. And then you will get something. All those pictures, I feel like, make sure, and anybody trying to manifest a house, keep them, because then you can compare them later and be like, this is wild because this looks exactly like this house that I was trying to manifest. And it'll be like wild in terms of like everything will look and feel the same. The address or those kind of things can be different.
I find this very, very fascinating
Thank you.
because I've never manifested anything in my life before. But I was also thinking before, I never felt like there was anything more than what I was already doing. You know, when we were in that corporate job, it's just like, well, having those big dreams, it was just like, what's the point in having those big dreams? Because that didn't make sense to my current situation.
Yeah.
But ever since we've left and started our own thing, things seem to be more possible. So the idea of manifesting is more exciting because it's just like, I might not know that like the steps I'm going to take to get there, but I now believe more than ever that those things I'm dreaming of are actually possible.
And that's all, like that is the biggest thing for people out there, is just believing that it's possible. Because I know it, like I, even with my son, like after my son passed away, I was told, they're like, no, you can't, like physically, you can't have kids. Like there's just no way that you should be able to. And I'm like, no, I just know it. Like I know I can. Like there's nothing stopping me from believing. Yeah, medically, you tell me I can't have kids. You tell me I can't, but I know I can. And there's a chance that I can, and I know it. And then all of a sudden it's like, magically 3 years later, then it's like, there's a healthy, like, there's like, I have a healthy, happy 3-year-old. But I feel like if I believed the doctor, if I believed what they told me, saying like, you can't have kids, then of course I wouldn't have like my daughter, right? Like I believed there was a chance, right? Because that's all you need to start. You just need to know that it is possible. What you're trying to do, and honestly, like if people have trouble believing it, chances are somewhere out there, there's a story in the world that someone has done exactly what you're trying to do, whether it be manifesting a house, whether it be some impossible situation of people, like for me, like, I was able to get pregnant when I medically wasn't able to. Chances are there's someone, this is what I kept thinking, someone out there in this world has done this. And I know it's possible because someone else did do it. And even if I don't know the person, even if I can't find a story, chances are there is. Same with the house. I've even read certain things where even like Facebook groups and stuff where they were in an apartment, and then all of a sudden it's like their client gifted them a house. And It was like, yeah, like, and it's because they're like, because of manifesting, they don't know how. That's what I mean. This one story that I was like, reading about, it was saying that they were manifesting a house, and they got it through their client, and they were trying to, that's what I mean, that's why you have to let go of the how, because you may think, okay, well, I need a mortgage, I need this, I need that. No, let that go, because you don't know how. You just need to know that that's what you want. The how could come from randomly, like, this random client, like this other girl that I was talking to, this other client decided to give her the house, like, the house. It's like there's
Yeah, that's
people like
wild.
that, and it just kind of happens like that. That's why you can't limit the universe. I feel like honestly, when you don't believe, you're essentially limiting yourself. You're limiting, like that's what you're gonna get. Like there's no possible way that you can get the house or whatever. Or like, for me, in my case, like having my daughter, like there's no possible way if you don't believe. That's the first step.
Now, I find manifesting and the steps that people have told me to take are kind of similar to mindset. And essentially, so what I've been told is when you're trying to manifest things, like you said, you need to be grateful for the things around you. So start showing gratitude. The other thing is start having the affirmations. So, like you said, increasing your vibration. So, if you had that dream job that you wanted, what did you need to, or who did you need to be in order to be that person with that job? So
Mhm.
even if you didn't believe that you had that within you, you start writing the affirmations like, I am organized, I can plan events, I can do those. So even if you didn't think you could, if you start putting that information down and you start writing that and you start telling yourself, I can plan events, I can organize stuff, I can whatever, you start believing that and you start embodying those behaviors. And in a way, your mind's like, well, if this is you, prove it. So then you're now going out there actively finding ways to prove to people that this is who you are.
I know that mindset and manifesting, I feel like do go pretty well together because ultimately, like this very similar steps with building your mindset is they're very similar to manifesting. And I feel like because a part of it, when you're manifesting, you're telling, yeah, you're saying those affirmations, you're believing it. Then when you start believing it, like just like mindset, self-confidence is probably the hardest thing, like, it's hard to do, right? Like building that self-confidence, I feel like that's where a lot of people struggle too. But when you do that, when you start, and then when you start having those affirmations, a gratitude list, all those things, if you believe in yourself and you believe it's possible, then you start taking action on it, which is another step, right? That's the same thing with mindset. You naturally, after you're confident in doing it, you believe, like, I want to be, this person, and you see yourself as that person, you're just going to walk right into that role. That, and same with mindset, like that's like very similar. If you see yourself as this, you start believing yourself as, that, like, this, whatever you want to believe, then you just walk right into it. And then you start taking action on it. You start thinking like that person that you want to think, that you start believing what you want to believe. And I feel like automatically all the action steps, everything that you take will make sense because you become that person. And it is for sure, a lot has to do with mindset. That's why I feel like manifesting works, because it is a lot of mind work for sure.
And there's a big thing that goes with mindset that I didn't realize until it happened to me, which is inevitably kind of having a bit of a breakdown. And I remember when I had my first one, you were so excited. You're like, yes, you are so close. That's amazing. What are you upset about? And then I just like unleashed. I'm like, this and this and this, which in a sense, it was like all those things that happened in the past, things I didn't even remember, or things that bothered me, but they were so long ago that I didn't even think they bothered me. But it was like all those tiny little things with the affirmations I was giving myself and who I was. It was
Mhm.
like in that dream, all of these negative things that happened in my life came out, and I had that breakdown of that realization of those things were holding me back. So I had to have that time to process that, and that did help because now when I think about all those things where before certain situations, even if I remember them, I would choose not to because I would naturally get angry. Where now when I think about them or when they're appearing in my dreams, I don't wake up angry anymore. So I feel like that's a huge part that I don't think anybody has ever really talked about with manifesting.
I know. I never hear that either. And yet, every single time I've manifested something, especially if it's something like really big that you're trying to manifesting, I feel like there's just means there's more to let go. And it's like, it doesn't mean more, but like there's still some things to let go. It can be harder on your emotions because it's a lot of work doing that. And it's true. Like, yeah, when you did have more, like, you had that like hard breakdown, like this is a sign that it is working, because in order for you to manifest, like this, like I said, you need to increase your vibrations. And how do you do that? It means letting go of the past. It means letting go of whatever is holding you back. And if you have those like breakdowns, it just means that you are close, because it means that you're letting go of that. You're letting go, and let yourself have those hard days if you have it, and know that it's part of you letting go. Really think about what you need to let go of. And I feel like, because that is part of the process of manifesting, and it should only last like a day or so, like, give or take or whatever. Like it shouldn't be like, months or months of it. But I do remember the same thing happening literally, I feel like the week, maybe a couple weeks before I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. I had a breakdown. I remember just like, I was on my knees on the floor of like my place, and I'm like, I'm not going to be a good mom. I'm not worthy of kids. I can't do it. if I can't even carry my son, how am I going to carry like my daughter? I can't do it. I like all these things kept racing, and I worked so hard on manifesting. And I remember thinking, like, those thoughts that I kept thinking that day, that is what was holding me back. And I remember thinking the next day, and I released them. I'm like, and then I told myself, I'm like, no, I am going to be an incredible mother. I know doctors tell me I can't, but no, I fully believe it now. I know it. And it was that little bit like that little doubt that I had. I needed to release that in order for it to happen, in order for the universe. And I remember at that moment, which is a huge part of it, in that transition that I had right before I had my daughter, it was being grateful for the situation that I was currently in. Because I'm like, you know what? There's so much to be great. That was the one last piece, in that being grateful for everything around me, being grateful that I have incredible doctors, being grateful that I was even able to have my son even for that short amount of time. And when I felt that gratitude and being that grateful, the next week I had my daughter. I'm like, this is it. And I had a lot of miscarriages even before that, but I'm like, you know what? I'm like, no, this is it. I know it. I can feel it. I knew it. Like, it was like everything. I've let go of everything, and it was no doubt whatsoever. I knew it. I went after it. She was born full term. Now the doctors, they tell me, you know what? You should have had a C-section. Like, and I didn't. And like everything, like, the impossible. They're like, well, I guess you can get pregnant, I guess, but I don't know how, because medically I'm not able to. That's what I mean. But it's those breakdowns that do every time they happen. And it's just part of the process of manifesting.
I also feel like it's like you and I talk about this is a test in life. Like every time when
I
we
know.
keep getting growth, there's always something that
Yeah, I
like
know. We
smacks you in the
always
face.
say
And you
that.
and I always consider them tests. And I love that because I feel like there's two different ways people can approach those things. Some people, when they had those breakdowns, they can either start believing and falling back into those old behaviors, or it's an opportunity for you to prove that that's not you anymore and that you're graduating in a way that you're able to progress yourself and you are leaving that behind. And I even think the things that I was really bothered about, I didn't even realize. I knew they were things that bothered me in the past, but I didn't realize that they were holding me back. But
Mhm.
when I was looking over my affirmations and reflecting on what I was releasing, they kind of go hand in hand. It's like, well, of course, I couldn't achieve this affirmation because I had all of these things where now it's
Mhm.
like that it's always the unconscious thought, they're not things that you're
Exactly.
always thinking, but they're things in the back of your mind that they're memories and they have bothered you at some point in the past and you've never actually dealt with it. So now it's just like an official release. So you can actually get to this point and you have to prove to the universe, yes, this is what I want.
Exactly. I feel like, and looking at it as like tests is an incredible way. I feel like I always joke, be like, you know what, It's something like, like if people would say like something hits a, roadblock comes our way. I'm like, you know what, Chelsea, after I deal with this block, we are celebrating something.
Yeah.
Like, I can deal with this. This is a test. I'm going to pass this test. And then we're doing something to celebrate.
Yeah.
That's like our process, literally. Be like, I was given another test. Like, I'd message you saying something like, I give another test. There's another test, Chelsea. And when I beat this test, we are doing something to celebrate COVID style. Like,
Yeah.
like anything. Like, and I feel like that's how we look at it. But it's true, because sometimes you hit those roadblocks, but I feel like it's just sometimes there's a lesson or something that you need to learn in order to get to where you are like supposed to be. And I feel like if people saw that more, as like, instead of like challenges, failures, all those things, like if you just look at them as just a test, if you pass it, then and you let go of whatever it's trying to teach you, then you will get to, like, if you're determined, if you know full force that you are going to get to whatever your dream is, whether it be a dream house, your job, your business, whatever it is, like it
Trip.
will, yeah,
And
trip, anything. If you take action for number one and you're determined, then you will get there. There, like the universe will just, there might be some tests along the way, but you will get there.
I'm glad you said that because there are people that if you tell them what manifesting is, I think they take it as so if I just believe it enough, it's going to happen. In a sense, yes, but there's also other parts of it. So that those gratitudes and those affirmations, they're also part of the steps that make you start taking those steps you need in order for you to achieve there. So if you're sitting on a couch and you don't even have a business, you don't have a job, you don't have anything, and you're just saying, well, I want to manifest a house, and you're not even doing anything to help that, then that's not going to happen. But I believe that if you don't have a job, you don't have any of that, and you're manifesting a house and you start taking those steps. I'm grateful for where I am right now. I
Exactly.
am a hard worker, and you start doing those things, you're going to naturally start taking opportunities for you to get that money for you to eventually get that dream house.
Exactly. And I feel like I've read so many things. And I remember like, and this is a huge lesson my husband learned too, that like because I feel like some people they make it seem like if you just sit on the couch and believe it watching Netflix, they don't say Netflix, but like practically they might as well include that in there. Like, if you just believe it, it'll just magically appear. And that is part of it, but a huge part of it is missing with all those people. It's it's more than that. It's not like all of a sudden you'll just be watching Netflix and someone will knock at your door with the money for the house or money for the trip, or someone's just going to grant you. Like, no, you, if even you can be lucky and win stuff like that, but even then you need to enter in draws. You need to take act, like, you need to take action on something. Like, there's something, like, you can't just expect all this like incredible stuff to happen and not at least try, not at least connect with people, not at least just try, like, what, no matter what it is, whether it just be, like, I'm going to connect with different people on Facebook groups. I'm going to reach out to businesses. I want to, no matter what you want to do, you need to create the doors of opportunities. You can't just sit there waiting. You can't wait for opportunities just to come knocking at your door. You can't wait for that, because you're just wasting time. Like, stop wasting time, get off the couch, start creating like your action. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. That's not what I'm talking about. It's, if you want to manifest that job, that dream job, you want a job, like if you're at a job that you hate and you want to manifest like, then you need the obvious step, at least an action step, is you need to apply to jobs. Like, you need to tell people that you're looking, you need to tell the universe, because when you start taking action steps, it's essentially like you're giving the universe a message to say, this is what I want. Like, that is why you need to take action steps. If you don't, then you're not giving the universe a chance to say that that's what you want. How, you need to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, then how are you going to get it?
And I think this is interesting. So I'm going to take it from an introvert perspective.
Yeah.
So I grew up being an introvert. I wasn't always social. I was social in my surroundings, but when I got home, I was very quiet. And part of the things I was manifesting were like our dream life and where we're going with our business and all those things.
Mhm.
And for me to think about an introvert stepping into that role, it is kind of crazy. And then all of a sudden, all these things I'm releasing are things that I really felt were things that were holding my voice back. So and then eventually it's just like, well, maybe I'm not an introvert. Maybe I just I wasn't confident with what I was saying or in myself because of X, Y, and Z, all these things that
Mhm.
I'm now releasing. So now I'm at this point where I'm like, am I an introvert? I wouldn't tell everyone I am. But now I'm starting to question, maybe I'm not because of the things I was releasing. It's just like, if I'm an introvert, why were these things causing me so much emotion? And then again, when you're looking at those affirmations, it's just like, well, again, that doesn't make sense. Who I'm saying I am doesn't line up with this introvert. And I think it goes with, you have to go out and let the world know what you're doing. So if you're an introvert and you're not doing those steps, then it's tough for you to actually get those things, because how do you get those connections? How do you, start connecting with the people that can potentially make that an opportunity for you?
And even for these introverts that are like, it doesn't mean you have to, go knocking at all these business, or if you're not comfortable. It just means, think about, like, you don't want to go be wild, because then all of a sudden, like that, you don't want to be traumatized by taking
Mhm.
action, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not the point of what we're saying. I feel like a lot of it is, it just means if you're an introvert, maybe you're more comfortable connecting with people on the internet. Like, you can, and taking action steps, like thinking about what kind of action steps work with your personality. Like some people, like, my husband, I feel like he easily can just go knocking at anybody's door. He can just show up there and I feel like he can get whatever he wants. Like he's very like, he's an
He's
extrovert.
charismatic and he's out and he
Yeah.
can have a conversation with anyone so confidently.
Yeah, like he's incredibly confident with that. He can go knocking at anybody's door, anybody, and all of a sudden he has all these deals, and that is his style. But like I feel like I'm differently. I do incredible opportunities online, right? I'm different that way. That's why you have to create opportunities also based on your personality. What fits you the most, just because one way doesn't really fit all, and it's doing something based on, I feel like as long as you're taking steps, sometimes you're not always going to know if they're the right step. That's the thing. And people feel lost because they're like, I don't know if I'm taking the right step. But the key to manifesting is you just need to take a step. And along the way, the universe will guide you to the right direction. But as long as you take the right step to show the universe, you're trying, you're doing what you can to create these, doors, these opportunities for you, then things will start showing up. And you have to admit, Chelsea, in the past, like, we've really been focusing on manifesting over this past like month or two. Like,
Yeah,
I think
roughly
we're
a month.
always like, I'm always grateful and stuff, but I feel like we're really manifesting over this past month or two. And we have had more opportunities that have been randomly gifted to us more than any other month. Like we've done incredibly well, but I feel like all of a sudden it's like but we've taken action on it. Like we've taken action on stuff like, trying to help other people, trying to inspire people, having this podcast, really taking those action steps, right? And then all of a sudden the universe is like, you're ready for this, you're ready for it. And then someone will email us with an opportunity and a random opportunity, right? Like it's not like we reached out to them, right? That's not the action step, but we were still telling the universe, but that we're ready for it. We're creating videos, we're showing them that we're showing up, creating podcasts, connecting with people. And all of a sudden, all these random opportunities will flood in. But in order for those random opportunities for you to happen, you need to take some sort of action.
And I'm gonna do like a shameless plug. But I feel so we created a course, the 30-day client and lead challenge. And now that I'm thinking about it, even if you're not a service-based business owner or even owning a business, I feel like the information that's in there allows people and shows people different ways where you can connect with people online. So if you're manifesting and you're in the same position as me, who you're an introvert and you didn't know, I had no idea how to connect with people online until I met Steph. But even if you are interested in starting to learn different ways, that course is incredible because we do talk about the different strategies you can use to reach out and connect, which
Yeah, no
I
matter,
think is like
yeah, no
so
matter,
helpful.
yeah, like no matter, I feel like you could probably even if you're just trying to connect with people for a job, not even for, I feel like either way, the information in there, even if you're just trying to connect and meet people across the world and you're not sure how, I feel like we've mastered that. Like I love that. I feel like I absolutely love connecting with people. So yeah, I do agree. Like that's an incredible way for people to connect with, because you don't need, that's the thing, like the power of the internet, the power of Google, you can do so much. Like even taking action stuff doesn't mean you have to necessarily go out anywhere. That's the thing, because everybody uses COVID as an excuse, and I get it. COVID is restricting, like it restricts a lot of things. I know that. But at the same time, change your action plan. Then you can't go out and see businesses, I guess you're calling them. Like, if you do that voice to voice, you need that. You don't have the internet, call them. Like if you need to connect people across the world, you don't need to fly there. You can You can use the power of the internet, because I feel like it's incredible. More people are going online. There's more opportunities for you, even more now than ever. So you can use COVID as an excuse, or you can just use it as an opportunity to change your method and way that you're manifesting, so that that way, either way, no matter what challenge comes away, whether COVID or not, because chances are there's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be a reason for why you can't do something. Instead of using that as an excuse, use it as a way to fuel you to get to what you want. Be like, yeah, COVID happened. Okay, this is what we did. COVID happened. Okay, we're going to switch things around. We weren't like, okay, that's it. Like, I failed. Okay, that's it. I'm done. No, it just changes your approach. So every single challenge, failure, as some people call it, is just a test for you to change your approach.
And do you find that there's restrictions? So if someone's trying to manifest something, is there a sign where you're like, I don't think it's going to work? Like, is there a certain thing if someone says they're going to try to manifest it, chances are it's one of those things that it might not happen?
My main thing with that is, my first question, I feel like, would be on on the person of like manifesting, in terms of like, well, have you doubted it at all? Like, is there, like, are you 100% confident that it is possible? Like, you're 100% sure like that it is possible? Have you doubted it at all? Because if you have, then it could just be delayed. In terms of like how big you can go, you have to be 100% confident and determined that it will happen. And even if it's like, even if someone say like it's not necessarily possible, I wouldn't necessarily even think that. It just means that there's an even bigger, better opportunity that will come, and there's a reason behind it. You may not always know. There might be roadblocks where you're going to be disappointed, just like, just like in the job I was trying to manifest. I didn't originally get that job that I originally really wanted, that I thought. I didn't get that. I got something even better. So like, and I feel like there's things like that, I feel like a lot of the limitations has to do with people, like what they believe. I feel like that's the majority of the time that, and I feel like, even like, I know with my son, like, obviously I would rather him here. I would know that. I want him here. Of course I do. But at the same time, it wouldn't have led me to where I am today. And I use him. Everything I've created, everything I've done for my daughter, being grateful for her every single day I've had is because of him. I use that as motivation, that of course I would not want anybody to live through that. And of course I would have wanted to manifest the fact that he could be here right now. And that was, I feel like, that was something I just couldn't, because those kind of situations, when you lose something like that, is like the main limitation of like, of health. Like, this was health related. Like, there's nothing I could have done except know that this is a test. This is a big test, an awful test, something that I don't even wish upon my worst enemy. But I can take this test and use it as an opportunity to keep moving forward. And I feel like that is, and you can take that, like, you can look at it in a couple of different ways when things like that happen. And I know, because so many people are like, there's all these roadblocks, these roadblocks that happen, just like when I lost my son. Like, I would have wanted him here right now, but there's nothing I can do except keep moving forward. And I can honestly say I've gone so much further. I would have traded everything to have him here, but that's something I can't control. What I can do is turn that pain that I have into purpose, turn it into where I am today. Everything I've done, I've had him in the back of my mind say, you know what, I'm going to inspire people to believe that the impossible is possible. So I honestly think that it was like, it brought like me here today to believe like that, my message to inspire people. I feel like that's what the universe wanted me to. I feel like I lived through all that. So the universe be like, you know what, you can get through this. So that way you can inspire and help other people, help them get through whatever they're going through. Know that no matter what life throws at you, that you can get through it. And no matter where you are, whether you are broke, like you don't have a job, you don't have any food, no matter, I know there's so many hard things, but I've been through the, like, growing up, I didn't come from like incredibly, wealthy, crazy family. My mom was a single mom. I know what it feels like to be broke. And you can get yourself out of that situation. And a lot of it, majority of it, is you just have to believe that it's possible. And that is huge, because you can turn anything that you want, everything, universe will just, as long as you take action steps, everything else will just like fall into place.
I was talking to this one girl who was telling me about what she was manifesting, and she got to a point where she ended up splitting from her significant other because it was such an abusive relationship. And for her, it was just like, all I want is out. I need out of this. And she got out of that relationship, but she had kids and she ended up living in her car. And she's like, I didn't have a job because he didn't want me to work. And so now, yes, it was scary, but I took that step. And now that first milestone that I was manifesting, getting that courage to even leave that situation, I'm now here. And then she started renting a place and was like, I don't have the money for, my rent or utilities. And she's like, I've had my power turned off on me before. I've been evicted. But she's like, I kept taking those milestones. The first one was to leave that negative situation. The next one was to find a place to live. And she's like, and then all of a sudden, the next time I was about to get evicted, she's like, I focused so much on manifesting because she kind of learned a pattern in what she was doing. She's like, I
Mm-hmm.
focused so much on getting that money that I needed in order for me to pay the bill so I could stay in that location. And she's like, all of a sudden, I started getting this business idea and I started working on it, and I had the exact money I needed in order to pay the bill. And now she's so successful. She's making thousands of dollars every month. She's now manifesting that dream house where she's having custom built for her. And it was just a few years ago where she was sleeping in her car. And so I think it's so important for people to know that no matter where you are, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
step you're at within your life, it is achievable, but you do have to believe it. Now, I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a controversial saying, "E- everything happens for a reason." Now, what is your take on that?
I know a lot of, I say this and it pisses some people off. I think that everything happens for a reason. I
Me
absolutely
too.
do.
I
And
agree.
I know that it pisses some people off. I know people like, no, it doesn't happen for a reason. I know people get mad at me for saying that 100%, but I really do. I believe it. And I lost my son. I how could like how could like I know what it feels like to hurt. I know that. I know what it feels like to be at your lowest point. But at the same time, you may not see it yet. You may not see the path the universe is trying to take you on. You may, want to blame something. But you know what? Everything does happen for a reason. And sometimes you may not know the reason. Sometimes you don't, and that's okay. But everything does happen for a reason. And that's always stuck in my head. And my mom says the same thing to me, like, you know what, no matter what happens, everything happens for a reason. And it really does. And it's shaped, whether it be to shape who you are, whether it be to bring you to an even bigger or better opportunity, whether it be in my case to inspire other people. I feel like that was my like for me, I feel like I'm meant to inspire other people through my son. He was a huge, like, that is my purpose. That is my reason. And I remember being at my lowest point thinking, like, I remember I kept repeating, I'm like, I don't know the purpose right now. I don't know why I'm going through this hell. I don't know why I was given this. Like I don't want these cards. Like I don't want to deal with all this. I thought my struggle was over. And just trust me, like just when you think your struggle is over, life can hit you so much harder with something else. And I know that because I feel like, my dad wasn't there. He was very abusive. I was sexually abused by some other older men. And like, I know that. I know like life deals you with these cards, but you have to know that I look back at everything and I think, you know what? Everything did happen for a reason. And it brought me to where I am today to inspire other people. And the same thing. And I feel like you may not know right now why it's supposed to happen. And sometimes you may never know. But I feel like for me, knowing that there is a purpose and the universe does have a way to line you with where you're supposed to be. And sometimes in order to get there, it's not going to be easy. It does take, those few like roadblocks, those hard hitting things. But I feel like it's that really, that's how you align with where you're supposed to be. It's discovering who you're not. It's confusing. Like life is hard. It's hard work. And I've connected with so many people, even some of my family members, like so many people are like, you just, when you think, life is has hit them hard enough, they get hit even harder. But even in those situations, I still believe that everything happens for a reason.
I do want to apologize. There's someone outside doing construction, so I do try to mute myself. So it's not taking away from what you're saying, but it's inevitable. And I'm kind of glad you said that because I was always the same thing. I remember one time I went on a trip and I came home and my room was all ripped down. And my parents were like, "Yeah, we had this last minute great opportunity to get the whole second floor remodeled. So we are getting all this insulation and everything done, and it happened while you're away. So we're sorry, but you now get to have this opportunity to redecorate your room." Which was cool because it was like the room I had like when my oldest sister was born, it was like old, like childish stuff, like
Mhm.
whatever. And there were 2 sayings I put up in that room. I had the letters printed out so I could have it up there, and it was one was "Believe in yourself," and the other one was "Everything happens for a reason."
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so those were the 2
That's
sayings that
really
I
cool.
had posted in the room, and I don't know why, but I was so drawn to those sayings, and, like, even the color, everything about that made me feel happy and excited. Now my significant other, he is the person that also doesn't believe that everything happens for a reason,
He
and
does or doesn't?
he doesn't believe things happen for a reason. However, this was years ago. He showed up, he saw that room, was just like, "You think things happen for a reason?" Like, and then, people have those typical responses. "So why did this happen? Why did
Yeah.
this happen? Why did this happen?" And yeah, you know what? Life sucks. And those things that people are going through is shit and they really shouldn't have to.
Mhm.
However, it's what they do with it afterwards. Like for you,
Exactly.
yeah, you lost your son and
Mhm.
that could have been something that you just dwelled on your entire life. But you are taking that story and you're doing something with it and you're helping others. So because of that, it did happen for a reason. And it's tough for anybody to say, well, yeah, you lost your child for a reason. It's tough. But if you believe it, then that's all that matters. So
Mhm.
even my significant other, we were struggling with immigration when he first saw that. And he's like, so if everything happened for a reason, why am I getting kicked out of your country? It's like, why do I have to go home when this is where I want to be? And at that point, I was like, I don't know what the reason is right now. Right now, it sucks. So let's just get through this. And then eventually we'll know. But now, years later, now that he's permanent residence, I'm so close to becoming a citizen. It's like, I feel like our relationship and even the opportunity for me to travel, like him going back home gave me the opportunity to go and stay in Europe for over 3 months. Like I've been able to explore his culture and understand more of his lifestyle more. So in that moment, yes, it sucked, but after all of those things, the good that came with it, it's like, well, this makes sense. Where if you were here working, I might have never gone over there to understand your way of living like I could.
Exactly. And I feel like in situations like that, there's lessons that you need to learn. There's something in there that make you stronger that you're supposed to learn for whatever reason, whether it be a stronger relationship, whether it be to inspire others, no matter what it is, there's something in there that you need the strength in there to do. You need to take that. And I feel like if you take, just like you did, like you believe like everything happens for a reason, and you like, we're this like same in this sense that like we take challenges, like those challenges, failures, like those tests that we call them, we take those tests and be like, there's something that we should be learning here, whether it just being sad, dealing with if there's an underlying issue to what you're doing, like dealing with those anxieties, dealing with whatever's, weighing on your shoulders, like, and if you take that and do something with it, that is the key. That's how I feel like we live our life. But I spent years saying, telling myself, that was the one phrase I said over and over almost daily after my son passed away. It was, I know this happens for a reason. And I even had doctors, they told me, I remember being in the hospital room and they told me what happened, which was a blood clot. And they said, and I remember this was just like, I'd say hours before. that he was born. And I remember them telling me, they're like, you know what, people in your cases, they said usually majority of people are okay. People don't end like, and I remember them telling me that, not that it made any better, but like they were just baffled to be like, I don't know why you're like, you shouldn't even be in labor right now early. Like how, but I mean, even in that moment, I'm like, I don't know why I'm supposed to be have him early. I don't know why. But at the same time, I look back now and I'm like, I wouldn't have my daughter right now. I wouldn't have like I can pretty if I didn't have my daughter, I wouldn't have had a business. I wouldn't have had like he's my huge inspiration to everything that I do right now. And I wouldn't have all those things. And I feel like I'm so much more everything that has happened in my life, or maybe you can say the same thing. It happens, it sucks, but I'm also a much more grateful person because of it.
That's a really good point because I feel like, some people, and I don't want to generalize, but some people, if life is so easy for them, they don't know what it's like to struggle. So, you know, some people, you're given money for your school, you're given money for your wedding, you're given money for your house, that all of a sudden later on in your life, if that's not there, that's when you start to struggle and you haven't been able to build up that tolerance. And like, I know you've gone through things at a younger age. I've gone through things at a younger age. Like, but I
Exactly.
also feel like that also taught me that, life is also short. You can't predict anything. Everything that happens, you can't see coming. And the thing I take out of everything happens for a reason as well is that sometimes it's timing. Like you said, for that job, when you didn't get that first job, that next job came that was so much better for you.
Hmm.
And there were things like I applied to a job and I almost said no to something too, even though it was great. I said no. And it's like, but why? I wanted out of this situation. This was a job, this was my out. But I said no. And eventually, those decisions we made along our way got us to each other. And now it's still those things that are moving forward. Everything that happens, even if you said, I want this by this date and it doesn't come by that date, it's probably because there's something better. So if you were to rush it, it would have been worse for you. So if you said, I want a house by this date, and you just made it possible, if you took that, something might have happened where you would have to leave that so you can get that house. So sometimes it's better when things don't happen in your favor or the way you think, because it does lead to better things.
Exactly. And sometimes it could be harder, like in the case, like, yeah, if it did happen, like say I'm gonna use an example that I feel like I don't usually talk about very often. Usually like, well, I've talked about it, but not in this sense. I'm gonna use the example of what if my son were here, right? What if he survived? Like, I gave birth and he survived. What if? Because there's a situation that I know, the exact same case, and they survived. There would have been, for one, I wouldn't have had my daughter, right? That's one. And two, there were so many other medical problems that he would have been suffering for his entire life, that could have been a possibility because he was born early. Yeah, maybe not, but chances are like that could have been a possibility, right? So that's what I always kind of walk through my head, be like, yeah, I wanted him here. Even to this day, I want him here more than anything. But at the same time, part of it is it's because I want him here. That's kind of selfish. Like it's selfish to say like I want him here even if he's suffering, I still want him here. No, I can't do that to him. And I feel like for me that was part of like that's why I kept thinking everything happens for a reason. So if that was the reason, because I wouldn't want to have anybody suffering, right? And I would be selfish to me to say I want to keep him here because I want him like to suffer through all these medical things. No, I don't want that for him. So no matter, sometimes in situations like this, I never know the reason. Sometimes I don't fully know, but I've always believed it that the universe knows best. And I've always kept, no matter what has happened, I've kept that in the back of my head because I know it's true that everything happens for a reason. Now I can look back at it and be like, you know what? I don't always agree with what happens. You don't have to agree with it. Like once
Yeah,
I get
no, and for the most part, they aren't things that you agree with.
yeah, like you don't have to love this situation. You'd be like, great, this happened. No, you don't have to love it. You just have to know that it happened for a reason.
And sometimes you just need to search for that reason, and sometimes you can't see it right away. And it might be years later when you start realizing, you know
Exactly.
what? If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here right now. And
Yeah.
that also I feel like is all part of manifesting as well. When you're picturing and knowing exactly what you want, these things may not happen, they may happen, but in the end, you're going to get exactly what you want, which is so incredible to think about.
I know the power of manifestation is incredible. It is an incredible way for you to get exactly what you want. And it can pull you out of some tough situations. It can pull you out of just about anything to get you to where you want to be. And to know the impossible is possible if you just believe it. That is it. That's like I feel like my main message to everybody is to know that it is possible. You just taking the first step to believing, manifesting, and everything that we've talked about is incredibly important as the first step.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Celebrating Success podcast. If you like this, make sure you like it. Give us a 5-star rating because, of course, we're incredible. And we are excited to have you join us again next week. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.